something like 97% of people now read reviews. And it's, typically it's either the top or one of the top reasons why a potential new client for a lawyer or a law firm, they're going to use that reputation to make the ultimate decision, whether to pick up the phone and call or email them or text them, whatever the case may be. That can be a make or break decision maker for the firm. So, I could be here doing SEO for a law firm, get them ranked on, and I've done this where I've had clients ranked #1 in maps, #1 organically, and the phone's not ringing. Well, why isn't it ringing? Because they don't have, enough reviews, or, they had a bad review recently, whatever the case may be. And then we focus on reviews, and all of a sudden, boom, the phone starts ringing again.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no-bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Troyer, and welcome to another episode of Show Me the Nuggets. Today, I got on Anthony Devine, who's no stranger to this whole internet marketing industry. I think, Anthony, you've probably been around as long as I have, maybe even longer. We'll find out in a second. For those of you guys that know Anthony, don't know Anthony, he's the founder of eDigital Wave and lawfirmrep.com. He's been in business in the space for about 20 years. I know I've had the opportunity to work hand in hand with Anthony a few times, and I'm really excited to have him on today. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thanks a lot, Joe. More than happy to be here today.
So super excited to really focus in today and chat about reputation, which seems like is a huge focus for you today. Before we get too deep or I make too many promises, let's talk a little bit about your background and how you ended up here today, and then we'll zoom in on reputation.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Joe. I got into online marketing back as early as 1999, but didn't make any money back then, of course. But I always had an interest in it because I was always interested in electronics and technology as I was growing up. And I was working full time actually in commercial lending at the time, and just kept on going back to my computer when I had, my free time, and just tried different things to learn how I could get into online marketing, because I know I wanted to be my own person. I didn't want to have somebody else making decisions what I was doing on a daily basis. And I don't like taking direction too well. So I wanted to be the leader versus a follower. And so through trial and error over several years, I finally kind of hit my stride in online marketing and actually started making money through information products. That's how I actually started out. And through that process, I'm sure a lot of people know about, like with Warrior Forum or Warrior Plus, as well as JV Zoo. I was involved in those, probably did 20 plus launches, did another 40 plus products privately through my own list over the years, and ended up focusing on local marketing, as everybody would call it back then, because of my background in commercial lending. During that time, I had a lot of referral sources, including CPAs and law firms. And so as I started to develop my local marketing business, I decided to focus on law firms because I just knew I wanted to take one niche and go real deep into that niche, because that's all you need is one vertical to have success. And so it was just kind of a natural transition. And I kind of had a little cluster of lawyers that I knew, and started, hey, I'll do some stuff for you for free or dirt cheap, just to see, what I can do for you. And that's kind of really how I got started into doing local marketing over the last 10, 12 years now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if anybody's been in this space for long enough, and watched some of those product launches over the years, I'm sure they probably saw your name or were one of your customers. I know that I was definitely been around the space a long time. So that's really interesting. So you got into the law firm niche because you wanted to go deep, right? And it sounds like something maybe you were comfortable with, and you had some connections there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I had the connections. I had the experience of speaking to lawyers. I knew the lingo. I knew, the terminology, the acronyms that they use. So it made it very easy transition, and especially with already, having, known, 20, 30 law firms. It was just a kind of an easy springboard and kind of a no-brainer for me to go that route. I could have went the accounting route, but I just saw law firms as a better opportunity for myself. And the one thing, of course, is they, with their lifetime, their average client lifetime value, I knew that, it wouldn't take me very many clients in order to start building, my own revenue. And so that kind of made a no-brainer versus, hey, let's go after restaurants or dry cleaners or something like that.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Big ticket, big need, obviously, doesn't take a whole lot of customers, probably even one customer, and they're getting a crazy return on investment, I would assume. So, yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense from a niche selection standpoint or vertical selection standpoint, if you will.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like lawyers, and sometimes I don't either, but they certainly more than pay the bill, so I can't complain.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm really curious, like fast forward to today, you and I have had a relationship for quite a few years. I would say, going past 5 years, maybe 8 years even. And I know that you've sold quite a few services, it seems like over the years to lawyers, right? Your agency has ebbed and flowed and kind of changed over the years. I'm really curious, and obviously every agency has. This market moves so fast. It's always evolving, right? If we know one thing, it's that this market is always going to evolve and change. I'm really curious, like today, we were talking about before the show, like why your agency has transitioned into rep and why it's such a no-brainer. But I'm curious if you'd share with the audience why today you're focused on reputation and kind of bring up some of those points we were talking about earlier before we hit record.
Sure. Well, with reputation, it really touches upon anything and everything that I do within my agency. In other words, all the other services. If you don't have a reputation, um, a law firm's going to have a very hard time to compete. I mean, it's over 90, something like 97% of people now read reviews. And it's, typically it's either the top or one of the top reasons why a potential new client for a lawyer or a law firm, they're going to use that reputation to make the ultimate decision, whether to pick up the phone and call or email them or text them, whatever the case may be. That's can be a make or break decision maker for the firm. So, I could be here doing SEO for a law firm, get them ranked on, and I've done this where I've had clients ranked number one in maps, number one organically, and the phone's not ringing. Well, why isn't it ringing? Because they don't have, enough reviews, or, they had a bad review recently, whatever the case may be. And then we focus on reviews, and all of a sudden, boom, the phone starts ringing again. And so I like to call reputation, when it's not doing so well for you, the silent lead assassin, because law firms don't know why the phone's not ringing, but most likely it's because of the reputation when they're ranked and you're doing all the other things right. You're generating leads for them. So even when they're getting leads, those leads might talk to them, but they're not converting because of the reputation. And unfortunately, most people are not going to tell them the reason. And so they don't know. So it's an education process when I'm talking to prospects, even clients,
Yep.
especially my older clients, where I might have got them in on a higher ticket, which was, much more of a challenge to bring them in, at, let's say, SEO at $5,000-$10,000 a month, where I can come in reputation as a foot in the door now. But they're becoming more educated, just as is the individuals out there, the potential new clients who are looking for legal services. 5 years ago, it was so much easier to generate leads and for those leads to become clients. But as people become more busy, when COVID hit too, all these different factors, the one thing we know is that people are paying attention to reviews. And I think it's 86% of people trust reviews as much as a personal recommendation from a friend or family member, even a referral source. So those reviews can be, be basically your pre-seller, can be a rainmaker for a law firm or any other industry for that matter. So the online reputation it's mandatory now. It's not an option. And if you, either as a business owner or law firm owner or partner, discount or ignore it, it's gonna burn you at some point.
100%. Yeah. That's some great points. I want to break that down a little bit and recap a little bit just because you went so fast through it. You said a bunch of nuggets that I want to make sure we pull out.
Sure.
So, uh, you can rank in Google, right? Rank in the three pack and in the map pack for your biggest, most competitive keywords. And if you're ranking in there in the three pack, and I've seen this myself over and over again, and your competitors have three times as many reviews as your client, and they got a 5 star or 4.5, and you got a 3 or even a 4.5, and you have less reviews, right? If you're not the dominant player, right, you're going to suffer. I know that we helped a client just be that dominant player. And what I mean by that is the go-to, the one that looks preferred, the one that has the most reviews and has kind of the best rating that people gravitate to. And we tripled their call volume by getting them to be that go-to brand, right? And all
Right.
it really was is setting up some automated messaging and some prospecting to get reviews from their list. I mean, nothing groundbreaking. So I think you're absolutely right. And if you look at the competitive landscape right now, if you do a search on mobile, all the ads are local service ads, or the whole page is like local service ads and the map pack, and all of them have reviews.
Right.
So like Google has like really pushed this review economy. And if you don't have reviews and everybody else does, what do you think's going to happen?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, whether it's mobile or desktop, when you do a search, for example, Los Angeles personal injury attorney, the three pack, comes up after the Google, the PPC, and the local service ads. And when people get to the map pack, what's going to stand out first are those stars.
Yeah.
And then if everything's being equal, I tell my clients and prospects, hey, we just want to get you in the top three, because then you can differentiate yourself with your reviews, and that can be the deal maker or breaker for you. And so that's why it's so critical, like you said, to have the overall review rating. And it's great to have a 5, but if you have a 5 and 4 reviews, and then another law firm has 4.7 and 150, who do you think they're going to call? And I tell them, just put yourself in the shoes of your potential new clients. If you did the search, you looked at the results, who would you call? And
Yeah.
that gets them really thinking about it. Puts them in the shoes of their potential clients, and that helps out for them to really understand how important reviews are in 2022 and going forward.
Yeah, 100%. You said something else interesting there, that like all that I want my clients to do is be able to get in the three pack, right? And I agree. Like, I don't care if I'm number one, number two, or number three, as long as I have the reputation that stands out
Right.
and they look like the de facto expert, we're going to get all the call volume. It doesn't really matter, in my experience. But if you don't have the reviews and you get in the three pack, you just did all that work for literally no reason. So like
Exactly.
if you're an SEO and or maps provider and you're doing that as a service for your clients and you're not doing reputation, like what would you tell somebody? Like,
You're really doing them a disservice at that point,
yeah,
because it's great to get the rankings, but that's great from a window dressing perspective. But at the end of the day, if you aren't getting the call volume, you aren't getting the visitors, whatever the case may be, like that, your client's not going to be happy with you. So you have to. Yeah, I mean, to me, like I said before, it's mandatory these days to have that reputation to go along with what other services you're providing, because the bottom line is any potential new clients, customers, or patients are going to go look at your reviews, whether they're Google reviews
yep,
or any other type of industry type of reviews, whether medical like Health Grade, or
yep.
travel advisor for for the hotel and travel industry, that type of thing. So it's critical. They really go hand in glove these days with services.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think it's a conversion element all by itself, right? We always talk about like, oh, sending traffic to a landing page versus the website homepage and what a difference it makes, right? Like I almost equate the same to reviews, right? Like it doesn't matter. It's a conversion lifter. If you do it, it's going to work for all your paid traffic, for all your organic traffic, for all the marketing, for the entire brand. It's a conversion lever.
Exactly. Yeah, I tell my prospects and clients that with reputation management and marketing, you're able to improve all of your marketing campaigns, all your efforts, and overall you can take and generate more leads, more clients for less cost. And what I mean by that is you're increasing your return on investment because you can take your reputation and help pre-sell your services and or products to your potential clients, patients, or customers, whatever they call them. So it's just a must these days.
A few minutes ago, you hit on something that that I think is really important with where the market's headed right now, and I think could impact a lot of agencies that have been having trouble landing clients. You said that you're really using reputation to get your foot in the door, and it seems like you didn't really do that before, but you're having to, or you're seeing success in today's market doing that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, about probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and all the way before that, um, I was doing literally 100% cold email marketing, and I was selling high ticket.
Yep.
And 4 or 5, 6, 7 years ago, that was much easier to do. I had built up my own reputation and they had testimonials and all that good stuff, so that helped. But what I started seeing, you know, probably about 2 to 3 years ago, it started becoming more difficult for me to do that. So I started branching out in other traffic strategies. And I had just been so fortunate that I could rely 100% on cold email. But in addition to that, I had to change, my approach to, what I was selling up front or the foot in the door. And as I was just alluding to a few minutes ago, is that with reputation, it really fits together with any and every service that I offer, or I'll tell any local business, or excuse me, local agency owner, you need to have reputation as part of your repertoire. Whether you have one, two, or three other additional services, without it, it's a disservice to your clients, a disservice to yourself. And so I transitioned over to 100% my, I lead 100% with reputation. And it doesn't matter if they already have a 5-star reputation, a 1-star, or they have nothing. I still lead with that because it's not just a one and done thing where I think many law firms, in my experience, think, okay, I'll do it myself. They'll get a blast of new reviews coming in. And then what happens? They stop, they get busy, they can't keep up with it. It's not a long-term workable strategy for them. They just don't have the time or typically the manpower to do it. And with automation today, there's no reason to be doing it manually. And so, to me, it's an ongoing process with a reputation. It's not a one and done type of thing. And so I sell it from that perspective. It's much more palatable and easier for them to swallow from standpoint of cost up front. And it's also for me and for them, we're not relying on, dollar signs directly. Oh, how many leads did you bring in? How many new clients did I get? Now, ultimately, reputation is going to help do all those things for them, but it makes it much easier that we're looking, the results are, okay, how many, new Google reviews did I get? And, what happened to my overall review rating? So it's a much easier sale up front. It's something every business needs these days. And so, it just becomes, part of your service. And if I was, to tell any local, agency owner, what they need to do is make sure that they have reputation. And I would recommend using that as the foot in the door, because it is one of the most critical things that you can do for any local business. And I think we were talking before we started too. It's, also from, if you're doing SEO, reputations, I believe, the second biggest factor that Google takes in consideration when ranking, local businesses, Google Maps or their Google business profile. Didn't want to say Google My Business anymore. So, it's critical that they have that reputation, because without it, I mean, sink or swim, you're going to sink more often than not if you don't have reputation taken care of on a consistent and ongoing basis.
Yeah. You said a couple things there that I think are really cool, and I really agree with. I mean, I think you're right. The having a conversation with a client, a month after you start working with them, and like they're like, "Where are the leads? Where's the return on investment? Show me the money." It's like, man, like we just got started.
Right.
It can it can put you on the wrong foot, right? Starting that relationship with a client, right? Can
Definitely.
put you in kind of an adversarial position. So I like what you said. Like, if we get started with reps, I'm not in that position, right? When I sell reputation to start, I'm building the relationship. I'm getting them more reviews. I'm reporting on things that are easy for me to deliver, and they are going to get more results with it. I'm sure for you as well. At that point, it's really easy to pinpoint who are the great clients going to be and who are the problem clients going to be, right? Like,
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
so I love that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about just to give an example. I have a Indianapolis personal injury law firm. Came a client about probably about 4 months ago, and they were interested in all sorts of things, SEO and all this other stuff, lead generation. We have some automated lead systems that we have, and I suggested, hey, let's your reviews. They had, I think at the time, they had a 5-star rating, but they had 4 Google reviews. Had been in business for about 10 or 12 years, something like that. And I said, hey, we can do all that stuff, but you're not going to be happy with the results, even if I get you ranked number one. And at the time, I think I looked at 2 keywords just to give them an example of their rankings, just so I had an idea. And one was like Indianapolis car accident attorney. They were like ranked 100 in the 150s, and then personal injury lawyer Indianapolis, where the case may be, they were like around, I think, around 80 or 90. And so within the first month, we got them about 60 or so new 5-star Google reviews. So they went from 5 to 65. And what was interesting, within 2 months, without doing any SEO, they were in the top 20 for both those keywords. And that just shows you how important that is. And so guess what? They got to know, like, and then trust me from the
Yep.
perspective I said what I would, what I told them I would do up front, we did. And it's easy to do with reviews, especially when you use automated systems. Um, Now they know, like, and trust me. And now those other services, hey, this is what I think we should do next. And they're like, send me the invoice. It was just, there was no question about it. Now, if I would have went back 4 months ago and said, hey, let's do all the other stuff, even though they're excited about doing all those other things, I don't know if I would have gotten the sale if I didn't, start out and really put their best interest first. And that's key. And reputation makes it easy, because that's really, I tell them, it's one of their most valuable assets that a law firm or any business going to have. It's the reputation. Might be intangible or tangible, however you want to. You can see them, but it could be considered an intangible asset. Have to ask a CPA, but nonetheless, that is so critical to have that reputation, because that's what your potential clients, patients, or customers, they're relying on that almost all the time when they're making a decision. We're all too busy. People are impatient. They want to get fast results, in terms of who they want to pick up the phone and call and, alleviate their concern, their problem, whatever the case may be.
You said that you think reviews or reputation is maybe the second highest ranking factor. I agree, but I actually think it's the number one ranking factor. And whether it's reviews or directly, like the number of reviews, right? Whether that's the ranking factor, I won't argue, or whether it's the click through rate kind of manipulation that happens because of the number of reviews. And what I
Right.
mean by that is, you have so many reviews, you stand out. People are looking for the best. They're scrolling through the results and they look at you and they're like, crap, man, I got to work with that guy. And they click through, right? Because they're not finding what they want. I've helped a few people, including my father's company. He actually just sold his roofing company. And they're dominant. Like, they have like 5 times more reviews than anybody in their market. And guess what? They rank organically, and we've like basically never done SEO ever for them.
Right.
They've probably committed like the top cardinal sins when it comes to SEO too. They've changed their website so many times, changed all the redirects, their title tags. Like, I mean, like, they've made a lot of mistakes
Right.
and still consistently rank in the 3 pack for most of their keywords without doing any SEO. And the only
Well,
thing I can say is, like, it's just the reviews. It's that, whether it's the click through rate kind of magic that's happening because of that, or whether it's the actual review count, I don't know, but I can see the effect.
it does really make sense, though, if you really think about it from a common sense perspective, because who's better to tell you? Is Google better to tell you because somebody manipulated through SEO to get ranked, or what actual customers have said about a business.
For
And
sure.
especially when you have 5 times as many others, I think hands down that's the most important factor. And perhaps you're right. Yeah, I think I had read, I can't remember if it's Bright Local or somebody says second biggest factor behind. I'm thinking of they had the Google business profiles number one, and but that's
Yeah.
again everybody's opinion. Nobody knows for sure, and you probably are right. Just from what I said from my Indianapolis personal injury law firm client, how I saw just by us getting a batch of reviews and continuing now to continue to grow their Google review profile for them, I expect it to go up, and maybe, hey, we don't have to do any SEO, so maybe I'll end up losing some money on that ground, but that's okay because we're doing some other things for them too, so can't complain.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll more than make up for all the crazy results. They'll want to buy lots of more things from you.
There you go.
So, in your experience and in your industry, it's going to range by industry, but what's working? If you had to advise an agency on what's working for kind of the marketing message behind reputation or getting your foot in the door to have the conversation about rep, what's kind of that headline angle or angles that are working well for you?
Well, what's working well for me is getting the word out, number one, to as many law firms as I can, and explaining to them that you know if you don't have your reputation, you have nothing, and it can take years to build your reputation, but just seconds to destroy it. And what I mean is one bad Google review or one other bad review somewhere else, depending on the industry, can be devastating. And it can literally, you can have your phone ringing off the hook one day, and the next day it's dead, and you're wondering why. Well, the first thing I always check are reviews. Did something happen? And more often than not, there's a bad review there that the business owner may or may not know about. They should, because you're getting a automated message, and I do too as well for my clients. So that's easy for me to know right when it happens. But it's really it takes years to build up your online reputation. Takes seconds to destroy it. But what's nice about it is what you can do is go in immediately, and with, for example, our services, we call it rapid reviews, because we're able to get up to 25 to 100 new reviews or more within the first 5 to 30 days of working with us. And it's really just a factor of, the determining factor is how many contacts do they give us up front. And we immediately put them into our system, and they automatically start getting, on a pre-scheduled basis, they're going to receive text messages and or email messages, and it's predetermined campaign over a course of several days. And
Yep.
by getting them in that system, we can get those quick results for them.
Yeah, 100%. So that makes sense on the messaging front. If you were to tell an agency, then, as that foot in the door kind of setup or offer, what's worked best for you in terms of like pricing strategy?
Well, pricing is going to vary, depending on the niche, but I'll tell you up front, I charge a one-time fee of $1,000 for customization, as I call it, setup, licensing fee initially. And then law firms will vary. So like a solo practitioner, and I vary it by client, but a solo practitioner would be probably around $299 a month. And it
Yep.
depends on the number of volume we're kind of expecting for reviews, but we can go up. If we have a larger firm that has multiple locations, we could be talking four figures a month, because we're doing it on a location basis. So,
Yeah.
but if you're, when I first started out doing reputation, I think I was a couple hundred, maybe up front for the one-time setup, and
Yep.
then I've gone down as low as I think $99 a month when I first started doing it. And it's really going to depend on the industry and the niche that you're involved in. And so if you're in a higher ticket space, you have the opportunities, and it's going to depend on that volume that I expect too, because I'm not charging them for email, marketing software, or any of the
Yeah.
text message costs. That's just all built into our pricing.
That makes perfect sense. I think the pricing model makes sense. And as you said, it's going to vary. But I think one distinction that you said is, we're going to charge based upon the number of locations or Google My Business profiles that they have. So that's really interesting because, like, if you go into a multi location and you just sell one location, right, you got an immediate upsell in, 5 days to 30 days, whenever you can show the win and they have that light bulb moment, right? Very quickly, I would assume you can start to really stack your revenue and multiply your revenue.
Oh, definitely, definitely. When I do it, I offer both up front. Hey, we can, and it's really depending on the sales conversation I'm having and understanding kind of where they're at and just intuition and experience that I have, whether I'm going to say, hey, let's start with one location, or I get an understanding, okay, you have, say, 4 locations. What are your goals and objectives for each location? Maybe one's just a satellite office. They're not really concerned about the reviews. They do overflow work from the other offices, and so it really, it's dependent on each client has their own story or their own situation and what they're looking to accomplish. But yeah, sometimes I've sold, I think most upfront I've sold is about 35 at one time. So it was a very nice deal to have that. So 35 law offices, and start their reputation on all of them, which was great.
That's perfect. And as you said, I think one of the other big things that I love that maybe we haven't touched on so much during this interview so far is that like this is all automated largely, right? So we're selling kind of a SaaS service with a setup, right? And we're making sure that everything continues to be delivered and that they're getting the result. But ultimately, I would assume that Anthony, like your markup is very high, right? Like you have a system and you have a really good service, they're getting a great result, but ultimately you don't have a ton of costs involved.
No, no, the costs are very minimal. Most I'd say about $25 a month on average. Now, if it's a multi-location firm, it's going to go up just and that has to primarily is just the text message cost and
Yep.
email marketing software. But of course, I apply that over all my
For sure.
clients, so it's very very minimal. And so the
And even if
markup
it
is 90, whatever, 99% probably. But I guess I could price it lower, but at the same time, it's the value that it provides the client. It's extremely valuable in terms of not just for reputation, but for everything else they're doing. So it to me, it's always a drop in the bucket, and no matter what I charge for almost every law firm, just landing one client, they've got an ROI on this service. So
for
it's
sure.
not a very far stretch for them to take that plunge and at least test it out. And we do month to month only contracts anyway. So if they want to stop at any point in time, so they feel comfortable in that regard. And even if I had a yearly contract with them, we do offer annual plans too, by the way. But even with and this goes for any other service. If I have a contract, it's 12 months. If they want out, I'm not going to hold them hostage. That's just, to me, it's not good business. And I know they're going to turn into a pain in my neck if if they stick around. I've learned that over the years, not to worry about, just let it go. There's bigger fish to fry.
For sure. I have the same philosophy. And I didn't mean like you were doing something wrong charging that amount. And in
Oh
all
no.
honesty, I argue like at the end of the day, like if you sell a customer at like $99 or too cheap versus 300 or 400, probably going to get somebody that's much more interested, invested, and thinking about the long term. If you sell too cheap, you really start to see, or you sell somebody that maybe isn't that interested, but they're like, screw it, for $100, whatever, right? You're going to get a lot of flaky yeses. And a lot of
Right.
those flaky yeses are going to lead to churn, right? And not that interested or invested clients. So I think that, you got to be careful on that front, especially if you're using this to build your business, right? And,
Right.
it's going to be reliant, if you're trying to upsell them into some core package, it's going to be reliant that they're engaged. And if I'd
Exactly.
argue that if they're paying $100 a month, they're probably not very engaged. They probably told you yes, it's out of sight, out of mind, and they probably don't value very much.
Yeah, yeah. Now my lowest is 299 for a solo practitioner. But yeah, when I just first started doing it. But yeah, you're exactly right. You offer too low, it comes commoditized, number one, and then they're wondering, how good is this? If it's too low, you just wonder psychologically what your client's thinking. Like, well, okay, well, yeah, we'll do it for $100 a month, but at the same time, is this person even able to do it? Because I talk to reputation.com or talk to whoever else, and they're charging 300-400 bucks a month. Then, there can be a disconnect there. So definitely, yeah, I quickly moved on from that. I will say though, if I have a package of services,
Yep.
I always know what I want to have overall, and so I might sell it cheaper within that package. But that's just more from a sales philosophy, and not really looking at my overall ROI on the whole service package.
Makes perfect sense. So we covered a lot, and this has been really great. I do want to wrap up this section. So really talking about reputation. So just parting shot, Anthony. When you think about reputation and what we've kind of discussed so far, do you think we've missed anything that we, would be remiss not to share with other agency owners?
Not that I can think of, except to say, I think we've impressed upon the viewer that reputation is an absolute must. And if you're not providing that service to your clients and your prospects, you're doing them a disservice. And so it's an easy foot in the door for you, much easier than trying to sell higher ticket offerings. And at the same time, you can prove yourself and get, a complete stranger comes a client, get to them to know, like, and trust you within a matter of days. And it can open up the floodgates for you for any and all of your other services that you wouldn't have had if you came in at a higher ticket offering up front.
Yeah, completely agree. Good stuff, man. So I got one question that's different than where we've been. As you look towards the future, Anthony, and you look at the past, you've had a lot of crazy accomplishments. I'm curious, what does the future look like for you? Where do you see you going as an individual, as an entrepreneur, and as your company law firm rep?
I see myself continuing exactly what I'm doing right now in terms of law firm rep, offering as a foot in the door. Reputation is here to stay. It's going to become, if anything, even more important as time goes on. And I'm really actually starting to pare down my services. And what I want to, I'm thinking at my age now, I'm 55. And so, I'm looking kind of next 5 years where I don't want to be. And I think 3 to 5 years, I'm starting my exit strategy quite candidly. So I'm trying to position my agency where it's not reliant on me at all, kind of plug and play for somebody else. And at
Yep.
that future point, whether it's 3, 5 years, or maybe even longer, who knows? But at that point in time, everything I'm doing now is to get me to that point. So I'd like to get it there in 3 years, and then at whatever decision at that time or in the future, say, hey, if I want to sell, I can easily do it. Here's the
Yep.
revenue stream. And, with the reputation, it should be consistent coming in. And then with the other services, and the recurring income, just to sell it and, move on and travel. So
I love it, man. Really beginning, so to speak, not the beginning, but moving forward with the end in mind. And you said something key, like, if I decide to sell it or when, right? This step won't go in vain, right? Pulling yourself out of the system, pulling yourself out of the process, simplifying your agency, getting rid of some of the complexity are all things that are going to help you enjoy the next, whether it be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even more profit, even more, and be in the position when you want to be able to pull that parachute and actually exit.
definitely. And the other thing I'm focusing on now, I think about it, is automation. A lot of automated systems, whether it's we call it our automated lead system. It's through a chat bot, but we've got them set up as such that they qualify leads for all sorts of practice areas, and with reputation, of course, with our rapid reviews software system. So those are really the two heavily reliant things that going forward I'm using. But with the chat system, we apply it to YouTube ads and
Yeah.
on websites and all sorts of different things, which is nice to be able to do. But yeah, it's really paring down it and simplifying it, not just for myself, but it simplifies it for the client. I mean, I can get them leads 25 different ways, but why should I? As long as it's working,
For sure.
and what works best for us and for them, is to really scale back, and it just makes it so much easier. And And what I would say to also to agency owners is make sure, however you develop and build your agency, make sure at the end of the day that it's not relying on you, because that's going to make it the most valuable when you look, the end game to sell. Because if everything is running through you and you can only do so much work yourself, but if the value is not there and the revenue is 100% relying on you or close to it, it's really, I don't want to call it a hobby, but it's close to a hobby because it's not going to be worth very much, if anything at all, because it's all going to fall apart. And that's what I like what we're doing now, is setting everything up and to create the most value that we can for when we look to sell at a later date.
I love that, man. Like, we all jump in as entrepreneurs to building a business because we want to be the leader, we want to have the freedom, things like that. But oftentimes we end up just, having a job and working harder than we ever worked and working more hours than we ever worked. So yeah, man, it's good to zoom out and really get that perspective. I was chatting with a friend and a customer of mine the other day. Was it 2 days ago? And he works 2 to 4 hours a week in his agency, and he's doing 30K a month in profit. His top line revenue is 40K, right? So he's at, what
Right.
is that, 75% profit margin? And he's got like, I think they sell two services, and it's just simplified, beyond belief. And,
Right.
for him, the thing is, again, focusing on the end in mind, and he wants to just, sit back and take it easy. And he's spending all this time with his family, and he's really made the most of his business, and he's in the perfect position to cash out today. I'm sure he won't. He'll probably ride it for quite a few years. But the point is that whenever he wants to pull that parachute, he can.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And the one other thing I didn't mention is with reputation too, is that with the success we've had with law firm rep, I've actually trying to launch before we got here today, but we have velocityrep.com, which opens it up for reputation for other industries. We're probably, the focus will be professional,
Mm.
but it's really, when it comes to reputation, like I said, everybody needs it. So that's,
Perfect.
to me, that made it's kind of an easy transition. We're not looking to offer other services, and I don't have the time or inclination to do that. But of course, once I get new clients that way, I might think differently. But that's how much I believe in reputation, is actually going wider on it, from perspective, because we got a great service, and know we can help a lot more local businesses in addition to law firms.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that, man. Going even wider. You've always been the deep guy. Now you're going wide. I love it,
Deep and
man.
wide.
Deep and wide. Forget one or the other. We're gonna do both. I love that, man. So, in parting, last question. I'm an avid reader, and I always felt guilty like starting a book and not finishing it. But I've given myself permission to do that, right? Because sometimes it's just a chore. I get into a book and I'm like, yeah, this is awful. I can't do it. And so I've given myself permission to drop books if they're not good. And I'm in the gym like 2 or 2.5 hours a day. So I'm grinding through Audible. And my hit rate for good books is not very good. So when I have these podcasts with really smart people that I admire, like you, I always want to ask, like, if there's one book that you would have to say has made the biggest impact on you or the way that you do business, what would that be, and why?
It's Stephen Covey. I know is the author, and I had it written down. I don't know where I put it now, but it's seven steps to success or something. I can't remember the name of it,
Seven
unfortunately.
habits of highly effective people. That one.
Yes, that, and it was probably, I read it, I don't know, many years ago when I was in banking,
Mm.
and that really propelled me into different way of thinking about success. And unfortunately, I'm so busy. I don't have time to read myself anymore, like I used to back in the day when I was younger. I did, but I have 4 kids, and fortunately, they're all grown up now, so I kind of got out of the reading realm. But that one did have a major impact. And there's other, I picked up other business books, and quite frankly, I tend to learn. I love to learn things, learn new things, and it's typically, frankly, it's online. I go around reading things online and learning new things that way versus picking up a book, because I pick up a book or look at a book and I see something that's that thick. And like, I'm not going to get through that, even if it's great, or it'll take me forever. Because my wife even handed me a book recently about the Vanderbilt family. And she's like, oh, this was a great book. And she's watching Gilded Age or something on HBO. And it's about the same time frame in the 80s, 1880s. And I mean, probably in the first month, I've gotten through about 40 pages. It's 10 pages a week. And I mean, it actually sounds interesting, but it's just, I always think, well, I could do that, or I could be working on my business.
Yeah, I completely get you. Like, I'm not a great actual book reader. And I know that. And I've went through stages where I've made myself like read books. I did 75 hard challenge a couple of times, and they make you actually read a physical book. That was really hard.
Yeah.
I don't read that fast, and it's harder for me. But I have found that like audiobooks do work better for me. And I don't always, but I consume them a lot at the gym. And it does help me get through them, because otherwise, for me to just sit down and block out all the noise and stop, is very difficult for sure.
Yeah, but I do agree from the standpoint of a book, whether you're reading or audio, it's better than sitting down watching Netflix and mindless stuff. If you're going to occupy your time, do something mindful for your business, or even entertaining books just to get away from business can still help your mind as well. Versus, and I guess you could argue TV does that, but I just can't blast through a bunch of TV shows. I get too anxious, too much like, hey, I gotta be doing this, that, or the other thing. So
For sure.
it's very interesting though.
Awesome, man. So in parting, we will be sure to link up lawfirmrep.com. Think you still have Pinpoint Local as well, right?
Yeah, Pinpoint Local is an agency that I have. It just focuses in on my location here in the Bluffton, Hilton Head, Savannah area. So it's very localized, and just to help businesses. I'm not actively doing things, but on occasion I've had friends, business owners have asked me to do some things. So that's what that's set up for. But we're not doing any type of heavy lifting or heavy marketing there. Really, my devotion is to eDigital Wave, Law Firm Rep, and then the VelocityRep.com, which should be launching by weekend. So.
All right. Well, we'll see if that's up when we launch the show, and if it is, we'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for you as well. And if somebody
Awesome.
wants to reach out to you personally, they got a law firm client they want some help with, maybe an attorney ends up watching this and wants to do some business with you, or any other reason, what's the best place, like socially, to get your attention?
They can either find me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or awdevine at eDigitalWave.com. I'm in my email 24/7, it seems. So.
Well, thank you, man. It's this interview was really, really great. I've been wanting to really go deep on reputation, and man, you really delivered. Thanks so much for all the value. I'm sure the viewers are going to love it.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate it. Had a good time.
Awesome, buddy. All right, guys. Sayonara. Joe Troyer signing out.
Thanks for tuning in to Show Me the Nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.